probably. So hi everyone, it's a real pleasure for me to organize this this event, to moderate this event on the latest news about the food tech ecosystem. I already thank all the partners who helped organizing this pretty rapidly, the Agropôle, the EHL, and also partners from the Swiss Food and Nutrition Valley. So I'm Pierre-Jean Wipff. I'm innovation advisor at Innovaud. Innovaud, we're an economic promotion agency from the canton of Vaud, and we have two sets of services. The first one is the one-stop shop to help companies, foreign companies, to move and to set entities here in Vaud. And the other set of services is basically coordinate all the supports for high-tech companies, financing, coaching, hosting, access to network, etc., etc. So just probably the word that you have heard this year is the word crisis, and I just want to spend 1 minute on that word because it has an interesting etymology. Basically, COVID crisis. I don't know how many times we have heard it. Probably you're dreaming or nightmaring about COVID crisis. The way we're using that word actually comes from the Latin. Which describes an acute phase of something, an extremely difficult or dangerous point of situation. And the Latin way of explaining this basically comes from the medical world. It's typically the case, for instance, in French, where we say like crise de foie, crise de nerfs, crise d'asthme, crise cardiaque. It's very epic and related to health. But actually, before the Latin etymology, there was a Greek etymology. That's why I put it in Greek. And there were different notions in this word crisis. There was first a notion of distinguishing, and actually you can see the root of crisis in criteria, for instance, and also a notion of judging. And you can see that there is a clear similar root between criticize and crisis. So basically, when you think about it, about the original etymology, crisis is a call to thoughtful action. And basically, when I see all the activities of the ecosystem of the companies here, I really can witness that during this year they have made some thoughtful action. And this is especially the case for food companies, food tech, agri-tech companies, because the COVID crisis especially perturbed that area. And I saw a lot of acceptance, compliance, and resilience. And this is exactly what we wanted to show during this event this morning, how the whole ecosystem was resilient, how the whole ecosystem was able to bounce against that crisis and to propose new things and to transform itself to move forward. So basically, the agenda today is split into two sections. First of all, we'll have a part from news from the support organizations. First of all, the Swiss Food and Nutrition Valley, and we have the pleasure to hear Fathi Derder, the managing director. We'll have some news from Agropôle by Julie Schüpbach, head of marketing and projects at Agropôle, and also at EHL Innovation Village by Winaretta Zina Singer, who is head of the innovation pole at EHL. And then we'll have a second part with one startup, one SME, and one multinational company. First of all, Vivent. A talk by Carol Plummer, who is the co-founder and CEO. Then a talk from Aquantis by Mark von Rompe, and who's the CEO, and also a presentation of the Firmanish D-Lab by Eric Saracchi, Chief Digital Information Officer at Firmanish. And then we'll have a Q&A session to interact with the speakers, about 10 minutes. Hopefully we will extend it, but I know some people have some hard stop at that moment. So without further ado, I already thank very much all the speakers for their availability. I thank you very much for you, audience, to be here this morning. And I pass the word to Fathi, who will present us the Swiss Food and Nutrition Valley, what has happened this year. Fathi, the floor is yours. Yeah. Thank you very much. We see your screen perfectly. Here you go.
Pierre-Jean. Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks for organizing this event, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to update, as you mentioned, on the Swiss Food and Nutrition Valley. As you mentioned, I guess most of you are already aware of what we're doing, but I think it's worth recalling one or two facts. What are we standing for? What are we striving for? Our mission is basically, as you can see here, to to strengthen, develop, and strengthen the Swiss ecosystem, food and nutrition ecosystem. It is a nationwide initiative. I'll come back to this in a couple of minutes. We started only in Canton de Vaud, but we went very quickly nationwide. Our three main key objectives, as you can see, are to contribute to solving some of the most burning food-related global issues, as we all do here in this virtual table. Secondly, to attract further talent, startups, and investments, as well as connecting existing actors. These are the two pillars of the Swiss Food and Nutrition Valley. First of all, attracting talents, and secondly, connecting actors, or we can put it the other way around. First of all, connecting actors, and then attracting further talent. Whatever, the idea is to get Switzerland as a world reference in sustainable food and nutrition innovation, as does, for example, eco-robotics that we can see on this slide. And thanks to all you guys working for this in Switzerland. So on this basis, we've got 4 levels of action. First is the ambition of being the umbrella of all key players in the food and nutrition ecosystem. And this is moving pretty well these days. I'll get back to this in a couple of minutes. Secondly, this is very important for us, really to strengthen framework conditions and raise awareness in Switzerland on the needs of sustainable and healthy food and nutrition. There is a lot to do on this point, particularly for policymakers, and I know it particularly well in Bern as a former member of parliament. No one is really aware of at what point we in Switzerland are good at this, and at what point we can get better, and we need better framework conditions to progress. Third point, attract talents, as I mentioned. This is really a very important pillar of our activities by promoting the Swiss food and nutrition ecosystem abroad, worldwide, which was particularly complicated in this COVID year. I'll get back to this. And fourth level of action, innovation. We intend to establish project plans for selected strategic areas to address major global challenges. So this goes through, I'm not going to go through all these 10 points, but we've got 10 different type of actions we can realize. Of course, as you can imagine, at the end of this COVID year, we couldn't organize any physical event, as you can see now, but our intention is to get back to this as soon as we can, of course. So we'll be organizing events, supporting vertical projects, taking part in international shows, organizing Swiss delegations, international events also, of course. But mainly now, the most important part for us is the 2 last points based on communication and on our digital strategy, providing, this is point number 9 and 10, providing a comprehensive information on current developments of the sector is something particularly important. I think we really needed this, and we're working on it, and you'll see we've got pretty good results up to now. The idea, of course, of all this is really ensuring high level visibility of the food area in social networks, and of course in all kind of events worldwide. I won't, if you have any questions, I can detail any of these points, but I think it's not use go through them, all of them now. What did we do this year? More specifically on this basis, as you can see, we launched, maybe you remember, the Swiss Food and Nutrition Valley in January at the World Economic Forum, and then we had to reconsider all our plans, of course, and we have been organizing or taking part to several different webinars. I mentioned some of them here, for example, in Japan, in Singapore, in Boston, or more recently at the end of last week at the Bangalore Tech Summit. This is a result of a very early cooperation we set it up with the Swiss Confederation. As you know, Guy Parmelin is a parrain of our association, and the Federal Department of Foreign Affairs has been helping us a lot, and all the diplomatic network is now aware that we exist, and they are organizing spontaneously events or asking us to help them to organize events, webinars now, and physical events maybe later on, to promote the food and nutrition ecosystem. This is a very important point, and for example, as you can see, Our embassy in Singapore has asked us if we could cooperate and organize with them a Swiss delegation next summer in Singapore, as many of our members have activities, are very active in Singapore. We can mention, of course, École Hôtelière, which is launching an antenna next year in Singapore, but also Nestlé, who's celebrating its 40th anniversary of its R&D center in Singapore, or Givaudan and Buller, who will be launching an innovation center this year or next year in Singapore also. So maybe, hopefully, if COVID is over, we'll have a Swiss delegation next summer in Singapore. Meanwhile, we'll stay very active digitally, as you can see. We're also planning physical events in Switzerland, of course. The idea is to have, well, we mentioned here in March, but it, of course, won't be in March. It's just I needed a place on my on my slide, but it will be probably all of these events will be rather next autumn. Having an event in Bern, raising awareness in the parliament, of course, which I mentioned, which would be kind of États généraux de l'alimentation, or assises, or journée, kind of a Swiss food day. We're also planning to organize, we had the intention to organize this year. It will be hopefully next year a Future of Food Summit in Switzerland. And we are also hosting in Switzerland the EFOST annual congress. That will be in next November. So, of course, all this depends on pandemic evolution. But in any case, as mentioned, which we are working on with all the One Roof and FoodTech team, we are now working on a permanent monitoring of the food sector in Switzerland. This is our a real strategic, very important aspect of our activity plan. I'll get back to it in 1 or 2 minutes. Here we go. This is what we're working on now. If you've been on our website or on our social networks, you saw that we're providing a lot of information, all kind of information on food and nutrition, based on these key values: connection, dynamic, current, and relevant. This is very important for us to have all the information we need. So you must really don't hesitate to send us all information you are aware of, what you are doing, what you're working on. Just send it to us. There's one email address for this, which is news@sfnv.ch. I will give it to you later on, but this is very important for us if we want to provide a comprehensive overview of all that's happening in the food and nutrition area in Switzerland. Our targets, as you know, we can recall them as startups, of course, #1 target, industry, investors, institutions, government, and tenants. All of them are really the audience we're trying to reach and that we intend to reach, both in Switzerland and, of course, also abroad. The latest advancements, as you have certainly seen, is an update, complete update of our website we've launched a few weeks ago. We started a monthly newsletter. The first one was sent also a couple of weeks ago. And of course, we are amplifying on the social networks, launching also our Instagram social network this week, in the idea of really getting all this complete overview of the Swiss food ecosystem. The General Assembly of the Swiss Food and Nutrition Valley, and I will soon conclude, I see time is passing very quickly, defined 5 strategic axes: protein alternatives, precision nutrition and healthy aging, food systems 4.0, precision farming, and sustainable packaging. On this basis, we will create scientific advisory boards and then propose a list of projects, initiatives to be championed by SFNV. As I mentioned, there was a lot of change since January 2020. As you maybe remember, we were 4 founding members, Canton de Vaud, Nestlé, PLFL, and École Hôtelière. And 11 months later, we had the great pleasure of welcoming our new members in the Swiss Food and Nutrition Valley, which are, beyond others, Firmanish. Thank you, Firmanish, for joining very early, by the way. Buller, Givaudan as corporates, also PepsiCo. Federal institution, which is very important for us, like Agroscope. It's absolutely central. This is the part of the official Swiss contribution. ETHZ was absolutely essential also, and they joined during the last General Assembly, and Swiss Food Research Cluster Food and Nutrition are also very important, as you know, as the two biggest clusters of food in Switzerland. Canton Fribourg has joined very early also, and this is very important for us to have most cantons we can, and SME like Hembling is also a member. Next members coming in, we've got new applications from other cantons like Canton du Valais, and we can also mention, of course, all these startups and others to come. As a reminder, maybe you know it or maybe you don't, but the fee is free for startups, so feel free to join us whenever you can. We need you, we need your inputs, and we need all the information on your company, and we'll make it, we'll promote it as much as we can. So thanks a lot. And as a reminder, just give us all the information you can. We need inputs, particularly from Swiss talents and Swiss startups. You've got on the right of your screen the address to give us any kind of information on your company, news@sfnv.ch. And if you have any question, write to us on info@sfnv.ch. And if you want to register as a member, you can just go on our website. It's pretty easy to do and free for all startups. There we are, and at your disposal for any question. It was a pleasure sharing this with you this morning. And I can stop sharing my screen. Pierre-Jean, is that correct?
Thank you very much, Fathi. Thank you very much. Julie, may I ask you to share your screen? So Julie is head of marketing and projects at Agropôle in Molondin, in the north of the canton of Vaud. Okay.
You see my screen?
I see your screen and you're in presenter mode. It's perfect. Here you go.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Pierre-Jean, for the introduction. And let's start with the presentation of Agropôle. It's always challenging to introduce a topic as large as the future of the food sectors is global impact and its need of innovations. Whether we are talking about new proteins, soils, water, or data management, the effects of the sector on its key themes are huge and really complex. To keep it simple, I asked myself why we were all gathered this morning early in this webinar. And I think a basic question brings us together. What can I do to build our more sustainable future of food? And how can I make a difference? And if I'm telling you about it, it's because this question is at the heart of the Agropôle foundations. So at the Agropôle, we aim to accelerate the implementation of sustainable agri-food solutions. An action that we have been able to carry out thanks to a legacy of land and business know-how. And on an industrial site in the Vaud countryside, we are using this heritage to help actual players to develop their R&D or their new products, etc. And whether we are talking about field trials, new packaging, or industrial processes, the site is a market-oriented demonstrator. And unlike other initiatives, the Agropôle one is bottom-up. It is the result of a generation of farmers who have passed on farmland, business knowledge, values, and ethics. And since 17th century, several generations have succeeded on the Molondin estate with one leitmotif: always be at the forefront to preserve their land and their activity. And here at Agropôle, when we talk about sustainability, we mean it from an environmental, economic, and social point of view. Three pillars without which a solution to be implemented will not be sustainable for us. So, to do that, we are bringing together on a site the whole supply chain players to help them to accelerate their new product development. We are creating an ecosystem or community. And currently, there are about 10 companies on site. There are manufacturers such as Greenpack Suisse and Biopack Suisse, who are packing and selling more than 15,000 tons of regional vegetables to supermarkets as Coop, Migros, Manor, etc. And at the same time, we have service providers assist them with brand and marketing. And finally, we have on site a few startups as Clean Greens, formerly known as Combat Group, grows salads and herb in a mobile aeropony. Eco Robotics carries out field trials with its autonomous robots in contact with farmers. And Alpha Toucan has installed sensors to monitor indoor and outdoor atmospheric conditions. And the whole site is linked to farmers and has access to many hectares of fields to make trials instead of new type of protein vegetables, as Fevrol or the treatment robot or the water solution, etc. And the success of this dynamic community has led to the evolution from 2020 of a new demonstration building to benefit the activity of future tenants, of more tenants. The building is designed with Lozinger Marathi and has been chosen as a circular economy demonstrator by Bouygues Construction. And the future building will have a mix of industrial spaces, workshops, offices, common areas, along with R&D greenhouses on the rooftop. And the building is a hybrid between industry and offices. For example, all tenants will have access to docking platform, cooling units, but also to meeting rooms, cafeteria, and field for trials. As a demonstrator of food industry infrastructure of tomorrow, the building has a digital approach, and projects are underway with partners to demonstrate how it is possible to work on an ethical data management terms on the agri-food sector. And all our concept is based on the rental of flexible spaces focused on user need and creating a vibrant and market-oriented ecosystem. At the moment, we are co-designing private areas with future tenants, and you're welcome to do so if needed. The construction will start early 2021, and it will last 1.5 years approximately. And new tenants will enter from mid-2022. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact us on our website or email. So finally, for the Agropôle's vision to be able to work fully, we need to build a much larger ecosystem, an ecosystem that goes beyond the boundary of a unique site. So in Switzerland and in the Vaud, in the canton of Vaud, we have great knowledge, and we are convinced that it's through the pooling of our network and knowledge that together we can imagine a more sustainable agri-food sector. So join us, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Julie. Thank you very much for presenting what are the future plans. It sounds like very, very exciting and a nice place, interesting place for new coming companies to come and join the community. I have now the pleasure to welcome Winaretta Zina Singer, who is head of the innovation pole at EHL, and who will present us also what are the new things that are happening over there in the north of Lausanne. Zina, the floor is yours. You're just on mute still.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we hear you.
Yes, hello everybody. I'm very pleased to be with you today for this online event. For those of you that were there last year, we had a very nice event all together on our site at the Innovation Village. And I guess we're very lucky to have these tools to continue sharing our information and gathering around these topics that are interesting for all of us, given the circumstances. My presentation today is to rapidly give an overview of where we're standing on the Innovation Village front, and also to share with you my feeling on how startups have been coping with the current situation and what I've been observing from my angle. So maybe rapidly, for those that don't know the project, the Innovation Village of EHL, which is actually not a project anymore for about the past few years. First of all, it's launched in the wake of École Hôtelière de Lausanne, which is number one worldwide university around hospitality and leisure education, according to QNS ranking. We started 126 years ago, and we've got a very large network of very dynamic alumni, including myself, that gather around the school forever and that are very happy to find opportunities to give back and to contribute to the school, even though now most of them are in management positions worldwide. So this is part of the assets of EHL. It's the network also, and I guess also the experience and the ranking. Now, in the wake of that, we launched early 2019 the Innovation Village, which is a focus around hospitality and food from a digital angle, most of all. And it's, wait, sorry, let me just move to the next slide. And the idea was to grow projects from our students, but also from anyone that's building something relevant from an entrepreneurial angle around those topics of interest, and to help inspire and disrupt our industries. I'm going to go rapidly on this because I think a lot of you probably know about us, and the idea is really to share where we're standing today. But in a nutshell, it's an innovation ecosystem, mainly around this incubator entrepreneurial site, but also building on bricks from the school with students that do their internships in their own startups, students that do internships in other startups that are based at the village, students that do projects, consulting projects, but also alumni, and also people from, actually most of the community comes from abroad, so from EPFL, from ex-corporate managers that want to launch their own projects. And then we have experts both in-house, so professors from EHL, but also people from the Vaud ecosystem. There are lots of, we're very collaborative, I guess like most people here today. There's a lot to build on with partnerships in the region, and we're very open to this. So where we're standing today. In last year, for those that followed, we'd grown from 5 to 19 startups in the incubator at the beginning of 2020. Today, we have 21 startups. So given the circumstances, we've still grown a little bit. And it was very interesting for us to observe how this happened, and to also observe how the different members of the community have reacted in these very special circumstances, very harsh circumstances. And so what we observed is that, first of all, as you can see, it's grown. Some obviously companies left us, but then all in all, the community has still grown. So it shows that there's still an attraction to be able to group in clusters on specific topics, that what we've built seems relevant, because we still have quite a few requests to join us, and we see that the dynamic is still there, and that there's a growing need to continue building together in this community and with EHL. So today, the model, for those that are not familiar with it, we really have two. So we have residents, the companies that are really based here with their office regularly on spot, on site. And then we have visitors for companies that are very young or that are based somewhere else. So the idea is to be able to reach beyond just a physical place. We need to grow a community with relevant key players that want to join us, but don't need necessarily to move their entire office over here. And then we're supported by our sponsors, which are Nestlé, Hôtellerie Suisse, Fondation Barrière, and Marriott. And this is important because we've seen also, I mean, it's probably not new to anyone, but we see it even more today, that startups really looking for this financial support in these early stages. Money gives the means basically to grow certain a volume, to grow faster on the market. So it's really the element that's going to fuel all this power that they have that helps them deploy. So we have this fund, this foundation that helps with Feed Digital support some of the projects, and we've realized that it's quite attractive because in 1 year we've supported already 4 programs that are very carefully four startups that are very carefully filtered. So we have Smeets, Private Deal, Free Lane, and Origin Food. These 21 startups, and you're not seeing double, or maybe you are, I've repeated them in different clusters according to the topics. I thought this would be interesting to share because it shows the tendency of the topics that are growing with us. And we've seen on hotel and travel tech, at least after the first wave of COVID, there's been a lot of excitement around it. And we see from this very traditional market of hotels, there's finally been an awakening of an understanding that maybe technology and innovation can make them more compliant with COVID rules, make them more attractive, make them more efficient. So we've seen that the startups on our side that were tackling that market, for most of them, suddenly had a market opportunity. And I'm not being, I guess, too positive in the sense that obviously, the industry is suffering a lot, and I don't want to deny that because it's a very sad fact today. But there's really been an awakening on the hospitality front regarding innovation. So that was quite interesting to see. Another thing I wanted to point out is that there's been a lot of resilience from most of the startups, and some of them, those that tackle travel, corporate travel or events, were obviously needed to reinvent a market. And it was very interesting to see the agility, and you really see the guts of the entrepreneurs in these moments where it's not just nice words. You see that there's a specific entrepreneurial mindset, and we've seen them flowering in these moments where suddenly they were looking for new market opportunities. Obviously, we're in digital, so I guess there's an agility that you wouldn't have if there's a more fixed structure. But just to see how positive and how these startups are suddenly finding new ways of maybe valorizing part of their assets, but from on another front to be able to continue either selling part of their products, but also focusing their time on development. And the mindset is really positive, and it's I guess it's very humbling. Sorry, it's very humbling to see these reactions where some people could be really run down by the situation, but you've got a whole fringe of these entrepreneurs that are feeding off this to grow and to be positive. To get back to my topics of different of different angles that are being developed, we see there's something pretty big around everything that's social impact and sustainability. With COVID, you have a lot of startups also like Dragonback Innovation that are now offering services to be able to assess if a room is clean, has been cleaned properly, so to be COVID friendly. So anyway, there are all these new positionings, but around these, I guess, key topics that you see everywhere. But this is what I wanted to share with you, and I probably won't go into the details of every startup because I tend to want to, but I need to refrain myself because we'll be out of time. But please go to our website if you want more information. You've got quite a lot, or I'm available to answer your questions. And I guess my last one was this, is that I've seen that entrepreneurs are really like orchids, that they flower in resilience, and I'm very admirative of the people that I've had the chance to work with these past times. So this is what I wanted to share with you today.
Thank you very much, Zina. Indeed, 2021 startup is really great, and I can only emphasize on what you say, the resilience of all the entrepreneurs. And basically, this is a perfect transition because now we're switching from the first part of the agenda about support organizations, and now we'll switch to entrepreneurs and larger companies. And I have the pleasure to welcome now Carol Plummer, who is CEO and co-founder of Vivent. Vivent is a very exciting startup, which actually listens to little signals and that plants do to understand actually how they're doing. Carol, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Pierre-Jean. Are you seeing the right screen?
So there's no presentation on the screen. I see a screen, but it doesn't seem to be the right one.
Okay. Okay, I'm just gonna... So Pierre-Jean, now do you see a screen?
So I see a screen, but it's still the same. You have your PowerPoint presentation on launched?
I do indeed.
Okay, so when you click on share your screen, normally you should be able to choose which one.
So I'm choosing desktop 2. I'm choosing share.
Okay, now we have it. So you just click on the presentation mode and it's perfect. On the slideshow, yes. I think it's the view tab. Yeah, slideshow.
There we go. Now is it good? Sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay, thank you so much. Hey, as Pierre-Jean said, my name is Carol. I'm a mechanical engineer from Canada, but working on this startup in Switzerland. We've been in Switzerland now for 9 years, so we're part of that inward investment in Switzerland. And you can see from my screen here that I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about a crop diagnostic solution. So we're in the precision farming part of the ecosystem. And as Pierre, I'm delighted to hear that Pierre-Jean thinks that our work is exciting, because it's certainly, we feel that it is exciting also. We're a deep tech company, so we've been doing startups. We've been working on this startup for 6 or 7 years, and I've personally been working in and with startups for more than 20 years. I love the lifestyle of a startup. I love seeing a company grow. I love building a team, and I'm really happy to support other startups. It's sometimes not such an easy job, so I'm really happy. If there's anything you think I can do for you, please reach out and tell us. The foundation for this business came from our previous business, which was putting Wi-Fi access on trains. And we sold that business to Alstom in 2017. But in that business, we really understood how information networks work, and that's our core skill. We decided, my co-founder became really interested in information networks in biology, and this business has grown out of that. So we're an early stage business. We started commercialization in the last few months, and our main product is crop diagnostics. So we can tell you something about crop health. And it's kind of surprising to me that this isn't a really full area of activity, but it isn't. So there's lots of space in there for new crop diagnostic solutions. We're selling to agrochem companies right now. We've got 2 of the top 4, also to breeders, and we've got systems installed at growers. So that's an idea of who our clients are. This year, despite the crisis, the COVID crisis that Pierre-Jean already spoke about, we've been able to, we're going to sell about 2 to 2.5 times more than we did last year. And we've been able to close our seed funding round. So we're pleased about that, and pleased to be able to turn lots of our attention to clients rather than financing. So what is the business problem that we're really interested in solving? And what it is really is we want to try to put plants at the center of decision-making for growers and breeders and crop protection product suppliers. And it would seem sensible if you're in agriculture that plants are at the center of things, but that is not actually the case. I think the art of growing a plant has, it has been an art for thousands of years, and it's becoming more and more of a science. I think growers have understood for quite a while that if they can control the environment around a plant, they have a much better chance at improving yields and growing good quality crops. So that thinking about measuring the environment around a plant and starting to control that has been a focus of activity now for many years, 100 years. And more recently, people have gotten much more sophisticated about sensing the environment and looking at ways to control that, for instance, using artificial intelligence. And I think there's going to be a lot of learning to come from that. But there's still, we're talking about the environment, not the plant itself. When you go to the doctor's office, they don't measure the temperature in the office, they measure your temperature. So there's a transition going on in the area of crop diagnostics to focus more on the plant. And so there's many technologies that can do that and that are going to lead to insights. And ours is, I think, complementary to many of those. But we decided to move beyond thinking about sensing to try to tap into plants' own sensing network. Plants are really very sophisticated organisms. They know where light is coming from, the quality of the light. They know where water is in the soil. They know where nutrients are in the soil. So plants are already a highly sophisticated sensing network. And we spend a lot of time, the key question we think about in our business is how do the roots know what's happening in the leaves? So there is information transfer within a plant from many different organs of the plant to many others. So when there's not enough moisture in the soil, the leaves choose not to grow and eventually they wilt. So this is the kind of information network that we are tapping into and which is the foundation for our business. We think there's going to be some really exciting learnings coming from this approach. And we think that those learnings are going to go beyond just agriculture to human health and other systems like control of biofilm growth. So I think it's really an exciting space. So what does our particular solution look like? Well, it's hardware and software. We actually have to connect to the plants physically right now with an electrode, so a bit like an ECG for plants. We capture the signal there and we transform it from an analog signal to a digital signal, which we then record and process. And a couple of things happen. We can give growers and agrochem suppliers a view in real time about how the plant is responding. So if you're perhaps building a biostimulant that induces plant defense, a bit like a vaccine for a person, we can tell you when that vaccine is active. If you think that your plants might be infested with nematodes in the soil, we can give you a diagnosis and say, yes, there are nematodes causing stress, or no, there are not. So this is really these are exciting options for growers and for agrochem companies. They can actually demonstrate product efficacy and they can really understand what kind of stress a plant is experiencing. Another implementation of our work is shown in the biggest bubble here. This is actually a screen installed at one of the Agroscope centers. And in this case, we're measuring 8 plant signals on the bottom right and using them to drive 4 irrigation pumps. So the irrigation pumps are being driven only by the plants themselves. But in this case, the grower has been able to choose how much stress the plants should be under before they get the water that they're asking for. And that's enabling them to do investigations into relationships between drought stress and taste, or growth and the growth of leaves and the growth of fruits. So it's a really exciting area. When Pierre-Jean asked me to present, he said, could you please talk a little bit about how you've coped in this time of crisis? So that's what I'm going to focus on now. And I think we feel really pleased that we've been able to secure funding and grow our revenue by so much, even though it has been a time of crisis. And I think that for us, the key to being able to do that was first and foremost having a strong community of support to rely on. So if you're a startup out there, one of the things I really think you should focus on early on is building a good network, joining some communities. I think in terms of building expertise in Switzerland, we have benefited from access to the University of Lausanne, Ted Farmer's lab specifically. He is a world-leading plant electrophysiologist. And through a little bit of help from him, we've been able to work with Agroscope and have now built the world's largest library of plant electrophysiology recordings. So this is already an area where Switzerland has a leading position and there's huge room for growth here. Other places where we've had great support from Innovaud, I also talked to some other startups in our ecosystem and ask advice, or ask them how they've coped with something. So Swiss Decode has been very helpful for us. We've talked to Eco Robotics to get references on advisors. So, if you're a startup, please build that network, and don't be afraid to ask us or ask other startups for advice. We think that the InnoSwiss projects have been really fundamental to our success to date. We're still working on InnoSwiss projects and Federal Office of Agriculture projects. And so I would also encourage other startups to apply for InnoSwiss funding or InnoSwiss coaching if you've not already done that. In terms of clients, I think that we've really tried to bring the clients on the journey with us. I try not to tell them, here's a solution and it's all done and it's perfect as it is. We try to paint the picture about where this technology could go, the benefits that can come from this technology, and bring the customers on that journey with us. And we have found that that approach has been equally, it works well with clients, and it's worked equally well with funders. I think with funding, it's obviously tough to get funding if you can't even meet the funders in person. They can't see your technology in person. But we've targeted funders that the same way we would target clients. We have impact, our lead investor is an impact investor. The main benefit from our technology is improved sustainability of agriculture. So there's clearly a good fit for that. We prepared quite well before going into our funding round. So we had already clients, we had a strong business plan, we had a virtual data room. So these are also things I would recommend that are even more important during a time of crisis than at a normal time. So that's, really, it takes a community to build a business, and in times of crisis, that's even more important. Just quickly, next steps for us, we're really working hard on business expansion in the Netherlands. It's our lead market. We're still working on product refinements with our Swiss partners. We're looking to expand our team. We're at about 10, a full-time equivalent of 10 right now, and probably 13 or 14 people on the team. So, we've got a lot of work to do, but we're very excited about the progress we've made so far, and we're very grateful for the support we've had from our community here in Switzerland. That's all I was going to say today, Pierre-Jean.
Well, thank you very much. Very exciting, and actually, I'm really happy to see that there is one more area where Switzerland is emerging, which is the digital data about plants. So, Fathi, I hope you're hearing that, and that might be something that we have to shout out in the world, and add this to our assets in our communication. Thank you very much, Carol. It was fantastic. Then I have the pleasure to welcome Mark von Rompe. He's CEO at Aquantis, basically a company set between Belgium and Switzerland who does in-process control for food processing. Mark, the floor is yours. You still have your microphone on mute.
Unmute.
Yeah. Now we hear you.
Yeah, here we are. Voila.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Good morning. We have also a startup, but the startup started in Geneva somewhere in 2012, 2013, where we were looking for a working relationship with the University of Geneva, which turned to be a working relationship with the University of Brussels, with some subsidies of the European Commission. And that's the Belgian part of it. I'm a Belgian as well, so perhaps that's another link. And there we started building sensors for, what is going on? You are screen sharing?
It's fine, we see your screen, it's fine.
Yeah, but it doesn't want to change screen. Stop share. Wait a second. Where share screen? Then I'll try this one.
Okay, just switch to the presenter mode.
Voila.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay, perfect. Here you go. Yeah.
Oh, inline go-through quality sensor solutions. So most of the sensors today are based on NIR, near infrared, and we are based on gigahertz, terahertz, and microwaves. As you see, the majority of the activity is in Switzerland, and we are planning to move the lab, the research, development, and production to Switzerland mid next year, with the help of Swiss, Canton, Vaud, all the organizations around. What is the principle? You see, the higher the resolution, the strangely enough, the lower your penetration. And it is with a lot of software on top of millimeter and microwaves that we will go into a much higher resolution to measure the food in line. This means during the processing of the food on the container belt. So there it is the food as is in the environment where as is and so on. And the measuring, label-free immobilization because it's moving. It doesn't touch the food because it are raised. Yeah. No sample preparation, of course, high penetration depth, high dynamic range, immediate measurement results. In most of the cases in our customers' environment, we have reduced the laboratory experiments by 70 to 80%. So where they take average 2 to 3 hours to have results, we give it in a split second. If we make the comparison with Carl Fischer, Raman spectroscopy, mass spectroscopy, the whole gear, there are many things the other guys do as well. The only difference is our penetration goes more than 30 centimeters. And the best you can have is ultraviolet spectroscopy, which can go maximum 4 millimeters. So if you want to know what's going on within your food, yeah, we seem to be the only technology which could help you there. So what do we measure? A level of frozenness. As you know, something like 30% of all frozen food is frozen in Flanders. And most of it are French fries, you know, the Belgians and French fries. That's the end. The potato areas are in the north of France, the Flanders, and part of Wallonia, where you have the largest potato fields in Europe. A very interesting part where we had a 1 year working and laboratory working relationship with Bühler in Utzwil was particle concentration, particle sizing, how big are the particles. For example, if you are milling beans, coffee beans or whatever, cacao beans, etc., and you want a particular size, when do I have to stop milling? We will measure you when the particles are at the right size. And then we have moisture and dry matter content, which is very important in the production. So in the level of frozenness, it's defrosting and freezing, and I'll explain it later. Water in oil, which is very important for olive oil, homogeneity of suspensions, and dosage. You will see that it is not only interesting for nutrition, but also for the pharmaceutical industry. The wet milling, I mentioned already, lyophilization, and water in matter. And this is measuring the dry matter. How do we measure? It's very simple. We have a go-through. So there you have the emitter, you have the receiver, and it goes through everything. The same in liquids, and it are electromagnetic waves of 0.3, 0.4 watts, so close to zero. There we have a more than significant part of artificial intelligence. 75% of our solution is software. How to interpret the signals which come from the electromagnetic waves. And this is what we produce, a dashboard with meters, with the results, etc., split second. Not 1 hour later or 40 minutes later or 4 hours later, split second. So if you want to optimize your production line, you can do it manually, split second, or you put all the sensors in a computer model, where we have already one example in Holland, and we are really practicing Industry 4.0. And this is what's going on. That's the difference. With the Aquantis sensors, all the major steps in your production line are measured, real-time feedback, real-time correction. If you have to do the same thing with different processes, in different laboratory also procedures, yeah, you're not even coming close for the sampling and the preparation and the consistency and the whatever. For example, we have a customer, Agristo, for French fries, who wants to know how dry the fries are before they go into the fryer. With us, our system, he has a split-second result, and normally he takes every 15 minutes a sample, where it takes 40 minutes to analyze it. And then he can start correcting. If you realize that on this conveyor belt, they produce 25 tons per hour, this means that 17 to 18 tons have already passed before he can react. Yeah. This is the dashboard, and this dashboard can be at your desk. It's just Wi-Fi. You can have it on your phone, you can have it on your computer, you can have it on your kitchen table, wherever you want to control the sensors, it's Wi-Fi connected. Where do we measure? For example, the French fries, you see on the one picture, it is inline, and the box here on top of it, this is where we measure. And the second light, the red light you see, has to do with the depth. So there we can calculate the volume and the weight of the French fries. In vessels, this is, for example, a design of what we have built for Johnson & Johnson. Here, the sensor is left and right, and the suspensions go through a special tube, which we have used for the chocolate industry. All systems are CE certified. The frozen food, I explained. The drying food, the beans, for example, drying the beans of Kraft Heinz in Kid Green, in Manchester, for their famous beans in tomato sauce, is measured by us. Suspensions, emulsions, and so on. How many times do we measure? 10 times a second at the speed of the conveyor belt. So our major domains, which is freezing, drying moisture, water in oil, particle detection, and organic. Let's walk a little bit through them. And we can have seen the speed of measurement. It can be on a slider, it can be the conveyor belt, or even a free fall. Quite some installations on freezing. Here, for example, the beef nuggets, yeah, we do with the German company GEA. But
sorry to interrupt you. Can you come to your conclusions within 1 minute?
Okay,
thank you.
No problem. So these are the freezing applications: vegetables, meat, fish. Drying moisture, milk powder, washing powder, pasta, cookies, and everything. Moisture sensing is very important, especially for the French fries, as water and fries have to do with the profit they can make on the fries. Accuracy, 99.85%. This is measuring the beans, the granular material, also with a handheld device, wherever on the belt you want to do. Water in oil, everything which has to do with mayonnaise, mustard, vegetable creams, natural fat. Particle size and concentration, very important for the protein concentrations, no dilutions. And then last but not least, there is a project we have with the Flemish government on the measuring of everything which has to do with the production of chocolate. Another, next to French fries, specialty in Belgium. In general, there is a lot to be measured. Problem, we have to focus. And that was my presentation.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mark. It's just amazing. What we eat sometimes looks so simple, and we just don't figure out all the technology which is behind to control all the process. So, thank you very much, and I see you have a huge potential. Then to finalize this webinar, I would like to hand the session now to Eric. Eric is the CIO and head of the digital, the D Lab of Firmanish. And this is also something that struck me. I mean, how in an area which is triggering your senses, you could put some digital tools to develop such fragrances. And this was really astonishing to me when I heard the launch of this D Lab. Eric, I can see you're sharing your screen. Just switch to the presenter mode, and the floor is yours.
Do you see everything now? Perfect. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you. I will try to keep the timing, even though we're a bit over. So welcome to this webinar. And first of all, I wanted to explain you who is Firmanish, because most of us might know the name, but not really understand who we are. So we are a family-owned company founded in 1895 in Geneva. And last week we were celebrating our 125th anniversary. And this company is a company that started in a garage, like any startup, with a family that cared, that wanted to leave a legacy to the next generation. And we are today the 5th generation of this family-owned company. We are driven by a purpose. We want to be creators of positive emotions to enhance well-being naturally. So what you will see when you come to Firmanish, it's a world of creation and it's a world of emotion. With the COVID crisis, obviously, we put at the forefront our main goal, which is the continuity of the global food chain and the public health and hygiene chain. You have seen some announcement we've done in the newspaper regarding the gel, hydrogenic gel, that we produced during the first confinement. What do? We do, aside of generating emotions to all of us, we manage emotion through the perfumes, through the ingredients, and through the taste and flavor. So we are in all the products you are using every day. So these are the success stories, the iconic perfumes, but you have also in your cupboards, in your kitchen, in your bathrooms, everywhere in your house, products that we are bringing emotions into, and not only in fragrances, but more importantly in flavors. So everything that we eat mostly has an enhanced taste that comes from the industry I do represent. Customers, big customers, small customers, Swiss customers. So we are working with all those fantastic brands all around the world in making sure that we bring those emotions to all the consumers. When we speak about digital, that's always the buzzword that we are all facing in our respective ways of working. It is a buzzword. So how do we make the digital becoming not a buzzword, but a reality? So for us, when we looked at our value chain, we noticed that normally our value chain was starting with suppliers and ended with what we call customers, meaning the big brands you've seen before. But since the digital and the technology is in our pocket, is easy to put into sensors, is easy to put into farms, into mostly everywhere, we have dramatically extended our impact and our connectivity. And as consumers, we are all consumers today in this call. What we want, first is we are always connected. Secondly, we want to have personalized products. And when we say personalized, it's always having products that are fitting our purpose as a consumer, fitting our needs as a consumer. So obviously, it brings the entire value chain into a new challenge. And that's why we have now our customer demanding online business model, on-demand business model, in order to fulfill the consumer wishes. And we have created, in fact, an end-to-end digital strategy for all the aspects of our value chain. That's a very important aspect for us. And we launched more than 2 years ago now our fundamentally digital strategy, which is based on the 5 fundamentals and 5 values of the company that are creativity, customer, sustainability, legacy, and people. So when we look at that chain, we are going now to focus on what we call the augmented creator. That's what you have seen recently in the newspaper or on the social networks. And I think it's very important to understand that creativity is very complicated in a world of sustainability, in a world of compliance and transparency. But there is a fun fact about our industry is that there are fewer creators in the world than astronauts. And therefore, when you have a fragmentation of the market, having many brands coming from the hyper-personalization, what you want is to give to our creators tools that will accelerate their work for them just to focus on what they are good at, meaning creative. So that's why 2 years ago, we created with a lot of pride this partnership with the EPFL at the Innovation Park. And Zina, we were visiting together the premises just before you moved your career to the EHL, and I'm happy to see you back here. We were building this 300 square meter area where we have mixed together IT guys, researchers, people from the EPFL, professors, students, but our people from our R&D, our people from IT, our people from the flavors, and our people from the perfumery division. And all together in this incubator, we are creating art to create. So it's not a painter, but it's the same mechanism. We had the chance to meet with this fantastic painter who is called Pindar van Arman, who is somebody who started like us in a garage. Okay, our garage is maybe nicer than is at the EPFL, but starting with a low set of data, trying to create something that looks like art, or that looks like at least a portrait, thanks to robots and artificial intelligence. And after meeting with people from the creation, from the art, from the technology, from the students, and by putting all this energy together, we have been very proud to announce recently that we have created the first artificial intelligence entirely created flavor, and more recently laundry care fragrances in China. So here, what you have to understand is that the human being starts the creation process and stops the creation process. So the machine is proposing formulas, is proposing areas of discovery from an olfactive perspective, but more importantly, the creator starts and stops the process and is the one evaluating the result. Or is she the one evaluating the result? So when you speak about artificial intelligence, it's also about gathering a lot of data, and we wanted to make sure that the creativity that comes from our algorithms and data are for what we call for good. It's a driver for us, and that we do that with ethics. We are not about creating space of firing people. We don't want to steal data from anyone. We want to make sure that the data that we are sharing with our customers or partners are secured. We want to protect the privacy and the safety. And I think we always forget that in the AI world. We want to go fast. We want to be first. But I think there is a full responsibility behind around the way we are managing and dealing with information. So we are reimagining Firmanish because the way we were producing flavors and fragrances in the past, in a close past, is about to change. And what is important for us, it's a journey based on a vision. It's a change of mindset for the company with values and ethics. Obviously, changing a core business mindset, keeping the people at ease with what you introduce as new technologies is complicated and obviously brings uncertainty. But we want to continuously invest in scaling up education in the company, in the training around these new technologies we bring into the job, and obviously bring new talents. So I've been very quick. I'm sorry for that. But now let's open the floor to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eric. Thank you very much for keeping the time. It's really really fascinating what you're developing there at D-Lab. There were a few questions, just taking by order. Two for Swiss Food and Nutrition Valley. The first one, what would be the framework conditions that would have to change to be more attractive to companies? Perhaps Fathi, can you answer on that? You're on mute. Yeah.
Yes, it's okay. Yeah, thank you. It's a question from Frédéric Raymond. Well, I answered in a written answer. There are many ways to improve Swiss framework conditions. I mentioned a few roughly. First of all, increasing public investments in the area. For example, establishing a national research project. You know, we've got national NCCRs, we call them in Bern, which are led by Fonds National de la Recherche Scientifique. And we launched this initiative saying we need a food and nutrition NCCR in the next step. And this is something we're working on. For example, other framework condition we can work on is funding support the development of the sector. For example, kind of a Swiss food fund. I call it this way, but it could have another way, another name. This is something we're working on with members of parliament, by the way. Encourage development of innovative and sustainable agriculture is something very important too. It is, I mean, radically different of what we're doing today, which is rather subsidies to help farmers survive. We should rather have innovative funds to help farmers to become startups, which would be some kind of a challenge. But I know that's what Agropôle is working on, for example, and congratulations to them. But this is some kind of radically different philosophy we should have, telling farmers this is tomorrow's job. I mean, it's not of the past; it's for tomorrow's and the future, and a sustainable food and nutrition ecosystem, etc., etc. I could go through many other aspects which are not only for food and nutrition area, for example, for all other startups, as you know, Pierre-Jean, for example, venture cap in Switzerland, we're clearly not good at that. We could be much better, for example, with some tax measures, and we must facilitate access to work permits, facilities, and funds, as you do, Innovaud, every day. But we must do this in all cantons, and maybe focusing more specifically on food and nutrition. I hope I gave, well, it's not a totally complete answer, but this was part of the answer I could give to Frédéric, and just get in touch with me. This is an important point. If you face any kind of challenge in framework conditions in your company, tell us. We need information on what you're doing in your company, of course, but we also need information on the challenges you are facing, on the issues you're facing, and if there's too much bureaucracy or I don't know what, just tell us, and we'll try to keep the political world aware of this, administration too, and we'll try to help you solving your precise and specific problem.
Thank you very much, Fathi. Just since you are on the session, another question from Christine. What is the position of the Swiss Food and Nutrition Valley relative to the production of animal proteins?
Yeah, well, as mentioned, as stated in the presentation, the Swiss Food and Nutrition Valley supports alternative proteins program, of course, alternative to meat. It's a priority access, so this is kind of obvious for us. We must be working on this aspect before anything.
Okay, thank you very much. Question from Mark. Are you in contact with OLAM or ADM? This might be a confidential question, actually. You're on mute. You're on mute, please, Mark.
With who should I be in contact?
With OLAM and ADM.
No. No, we are not in contact with them.
Okay, so perhaps Tim might have some connections. You might connect after the session. Thank you very much, Mark. There was a question from Caroline to Eric. She's actually pretty interested in understanding how you manage the mindset change and the training program for your employees. Can you say a few words on that?
Yeah, that's the heart of the matter in our full digital transformation, and that's the most complicated part. As you can imagine, technology is easy. You can always make it work, but transforming people, training people, scaling up the knowledge is always a very big challenge. We are working obviously closely with our HR organization in setting up training programs, curriculum for employees. We do a lot of presentation, explaining what we do, the purpose of what we are doing, inviting many people in our D-Lab in Lausanne from the company in order to demystify the technologies. But here it's about communication, training. There is no secret about it, and it takes obviously a lot of time.
Thank you very much, Eric. Just a reaction from Tim in the previous question, Mark. Tim is very good news. Tim is would be willing to help you getting in contact with them. So I would propose just to connect through the chapter to exchange your information, contact info, so that you can connect with Tim and open the doors.
Okay. Thank you.
So there are no more questions in the Q&A. I don't know if there is still a last one. Well, if it's not the case, again, I really thank you all. Thank you, Fathi. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Zina. Thank you, Carol, Mark, and Eric for these very lively sessions. Perhaps we have opened doors. This was unexpected from that meeting. We'll do hopefully on when the crisis and the situation will be better. We'll organize other events where we can meet, where we can see companies in live what we're doing. So keep on track and keep posted on what is happening in the ecosystem, because there are many things happening. Thank you very much. I wish you a very nice day, and looking forward for the next FoodTech webinar, breakfast, brunch, whatever, but there will be a matter for that.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice day. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye-bye.
One last thing, you can find the recording on our website.